Hey everybody, this is Topper999 coming at you with another movie review. Well, not really a review. I just got out of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Just got home from the theater. This is going to be kind of quick because, I have work tomorrow and, I can put together a longer form video if you guys are interested. But these are just kind of my initial thoughts. So, the movie, is it good? No, it's terrible. It is awful. I mean, the first one had its problems, right? Um, there was something there. There's nothing here in this one. This is not it. You ever those movies where you watch the opening scene and you go, man, I hope this isn't the rest of the movie. It was. Um, it is so dependent on the children actors, and it. I mean, you can only do so much, and that's where it's kind of hard when you have such child-centered stories. You really need child actors that can pull their weight and that can nothing against these children. They're kids, but at the end of the day it's a movie, and it really does attract from the value. So I mean, this movie, just the world just makes no sense. I mean, I'm gonna try to keep this spoiler free. I mean, it takes place after the events of the first one, as it's a sequel, of course. And it's just like, does the world know that Matthew Lillard's character William Afton was a murderer? I don't know. Neither does the story. I mean, it's all over the place. The kids were missing and it was ruled an accident. But we know that it was murderers and all that stuff. But the police, there's no mention of them whatsoever. There is no crime scene of the restaurants. People can just go in whenever they want. Um, and it just makes the whole thing makes no sense. It makes no sense. I just it is just bad. I don't even know where to begin. I went into this movie. I was just gonna make little notes, and I have so many things that I want to go over, but I just don't have the time. It's just like a war crime against my eyes. I mean, I love that they use some practical effects, and that is about it. I mean, we get just the worst exposition and just like characters that are just absurd. And I just what's it like? What's even the point of this? I mean, it's $20 million more, so I think the budget was like 50 million. And I just really like this is what you want to put your money into. So I don't even know how to explain this. The end of the first movie, right? The building burns down, whatever. Little did we know the original Freddy Fazbear's restaurant is 10 minutes away, and somehow it's never mentioned. We never talk about it. Um, the girl, it's close enough that the girl can just ride her bike there in the middle of the night. She can ride. So after school science fair, she runs into some trouble, and it's close enough that she can ride there and ride back, and the science fair is still going strong. So it's close enough, and she rode her bike, right? So all this backstory, it's right there, but it's never addressed whether or not they know he's a murderer. But for the Freddy, like, the world is like aware of its lore. Everyone talks about like the creatures and oh, Freddy and Chica or whatever, and it's like, dude, like, do we know that there were murders there, or is it just kids went missing? Because, like, if we don't know that new murderers happened, all we know is that the building burned down. Like, really, if the Chuck E. Cheese in your neighborhood burns down, are we all gonna know? Like, name one character from the Chuck E. Cheese cast besides freaking Chucky. I don't even know. But it's just weird. They have like a Freddy Fazbear festival, like they're doing like a street festival, and like the real animatronic shows up and is all walking around, and everyone's so impressed. And it like gave me the vibes of like, the Friday the 13th movie where Jason goes to Manhattan. So imagine that, but he kills no people, and they go, like, they're in this whole public area and like nothing happens. They cause like $100 of property damage, and it's just absurd. Like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, the bad person is like the marionette, right? We know, like, let's just say I was into Five Nights at Freddy's before it was cool, and before, it was, yeah, I was into it, and then, like, Matt Pat did all of his videos, then it became cool, and then it became like cringe. It was like, it's like Fortnite now. It's like, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. And I guess maybe that's fitting. It's a Scott Cawthon thing where Matt Pat wrote a whole story, and Scott Cawthon was like, "Oh yeah, that was it the whole time." And then like retroactively, like we get this reveal that like William Afton, oh sorry, spoiler, William Afton's son is still alive, but he really doesn't play any part in it. Like he lets in a crew of ghost hunters that all get killed by the evil animatronic, but he's like a murderer, and he just appears at the end after all that. Like, okay, like there was no point for him to be there. He just shoehorned in for like sequel bait, and there's just it's just so bad. Um, like the girl, she misses her friends, and she's manipulated by the evil puppet. And there's this scene at the end. So the older animatronics, the ones from the first one, are gone the whole movie. And then at the end, like they're in trouble and they're surrounded by all the bad animatronics. And I kid you not, it was like an Avengers scene, like da 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 da, and all of the old animatronics beat up the new ones, and they appear from behind them and wreck them. And it's like, okay, and that's like the end of the movie. Okay, like that's great. And then they like go to heaven. I mean, it's cool. Like it tries to be thoughtful at the end, but I'm just like sitting there, like, what is happening? It's all over the place. Josh Hutcherson is like a background character. Like he was really good in the first one, and I think the Five Nights at Freddy's story. I mean, it's an interesting concept. There's a murderer. He puts people in the suits. They are possessed, whatever. But it's like the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. The only reason it worked is like he's just a guy. He shows up because he needs a job, and things are wonky. That's it. Like if you know that there's some freaking haunted Chuck E. Cheese animatronic, and he's like walking down the street, like okay, like he straight up rips off one of the heads of one of the animatronics like that, like nothing. And it's just when you take it's weird because when you take him out of this very particular scenario that you get put in, where you have the resource, it's kind of like Alien and Aliens, where the reason Alien is so scary in the first one compared to like the second one, where it's more of an action movie, is they have no resources. They're stuck. They're stranded, and that's kind of how it's supposed to feel. Where I'm trapped in this room, I can't get out, limited power, I don't have anything to defend myself. But in this one, like they're going about, and like they're just walking. Some of the animatronics are walking down the road. Like I'm sorry, it's just goofy at that point. It's not scary, and like this movie, like I saw a lot of like the trailer looked so good, and I just that was the best part of the movie. Like if you see the trailer, call it there. That is just have that image of your mind, like man, that looks kind of good. Leave it there. It will only get worse. It's like the Salem's Lot movie that came out a while ago. Like the trailer was like okay, and then everything about it was just dog crap. And I just and you're gonna get the thing where it's like, oh, it's for kids, and that's fine. Like I like the first one was I view it as like, okay, it's like children's first horror movie. Like you want to get into you want to get into horror, you're in your middle school age or whatever. Yeah, that's great for the first one. Like there's enough there. It's kind of a weak story and doesn't make a ton of sense. Like, why is the cop always hanging out, like, on the clock? Whatever, who cares? But this one is just so much worse. Like, the plot makes no sense. Even, I think kids' movies should be some of the best written movies that we have. I don't think that's an excuse for it just to be terrible. And I can make a full video, but it would take me like an hour. Like the whole plot all over the place, characters all over the place. It's just goofy. It's not scary. It's just loud. And I just can't stop thinking about how bad it was. Like I almost walked out. If it wasn't me and the four, 12-year-olds sitting behind me, if it was like a full theater, I would have left because it's like, what's the point? But I was just hanging out by myself, eating some popcorn. I was like, okay, I'll stay. But it was not good. And I'm sorry I'm rambling. I'm trying to get my thoughts together, and there's just so much. It's just and there's also these stupid horror tropes where things will happen and you're like, why is that happening? Like for example, in the original location there's like a water ride and one of the characters falls into the water. You're like, okay, but instead of like getting back up like a normal person and like continuing to walk through his flashlight, he continues walking in the water. Like who would do that? And it's like, oh yeah, 5 seconds later he gets killed underwater. Oh, that's why, duh. And it's just contrived. And the new animatronics talk, and it's bad. I think it's Megan Fox that plays Chica, so she does most of the talking, and it's weird. I just and the main girl is just it's rough. Like she is a 14-year old that looks like a 10-year old that acts like a 5-year old. So she misses her friends, and like there could have been some story there of like trauma and that kind of stuff, but it's just she misses her friends, so she gets manipulated by her new friends, and then her old friends come and save her, and it's just weird. Like she's like carried in and tucked into bed, and she's all like sleepy, like oh, kind of like when you're a kid and you get carried in by your parents when you're like 5, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. But you're like 14, really, and you're gonna let the animatronic carry you into bed and tuck you in. It's just weird stuff like that. Like, what's even the point of this movie? I don't even. I can't even. And then there's all this stuff. Like there was a weird waiter scene where he like is scraping like the Josh Hutcherson doesn't know how to eat bread, so he's like breaking bread at the table trying to eat it, and then like the waiter comes and like wipes it off like right in front of him like super rudely. And I don't know if it's like to show that like they don't really fit into society because like oh we don't know how to survive anymore. But it's like really what does that have to do with anything? Like that's how you're going to show that they don't really fit into society, going to some ritzy restaurant with some like super mental waiter that's going to like sweep, like I kid you not, like his plate is here and he's like eating bread, and he like the waiter just interrupts and like scrapes off the crumbs to take it, like he's so concerned. Like really? Oh, it's just awful. I'm really charitable, and a lot of the movies that I like end up thinking are bad, it doesn't really hit me until on the way home, where you're thinking and you're like, you put all the pieces, you're like, you watch it, you watch the pretty lights, and like, oh, this is kind of fun. And then you get to the car and you think you're sitting there driving, you're like, this is bad. Like that was the whole like 5 seconds before the opening credits. I knew like this is trouble. This is no bueno. And let me know if you want a full breakdown. I can go through the whole thing. I tried not to spoil it, but like there's nothing to spoil. Like there, kind of like this review, it goes on for a long time. You don't really say anything, so sorry about that. That's just my thoughts. I'm gonna go to bed. All right, final score: 2 out of 10 because it's a movie and the practical effects were fine. Everything else was crap. The end.